Hi guys, welcome to another episode of Pointing Not Sharp. Today I'm out here at the Lone Pine Barracks Infantry Museum taking a look at a couple of the items within their collection. So today we're going to take a look at the Kokoda Gun, both the MCM1 and the MCM2. So pretty much the history and how they differ and why they didn't go anywhere. So MCEM stands for Military Carbine Experimental Model. And there were two models, the first one and the second. The first was submitted to the UK for trials, failed horribly, and then they revamped it and resubmitted it again, did terrible. So it's a 9mm submachine carbine. I call it a carbine because in Australia we don't call them submachine guns, or back in the day we didn't. We called them submachine carbines. And it was designed by a team led by Major SEM Hall, and they were actually manufactured at the Lithgow Small Arms Factory. So on the 6th of May 1940, an army survey of 1,500 combat veterans covering small arms was disseminated to design the ideal small arms, or in this case, submachine carbine. There were 1,500 surveys sent out, and of those 1,500, 1,293 people thought that magazines belonged in the bottom of the weapon and not the top, like the Owen gun. 163 said that they thought they belonged on the top, and 44 weren't sure, so I assume they probably thought the side like a Sten gun or something like that. So it sounded like what they really wanted was a modified Owen gun with a pistol grip magazine. So this is actually a magazine for an Owen gun and does not fit in this firearm. We don't have a magazine for this firearm anywhere, unfortunately. But they wanted a large foregrip, which they didn't get in the first model, and they also wanted a retractable stock, which we do have, but unfortunately is seized and I can't pull out and demonstrate for you. The firearm was nicknamed the Kokoda Gun after the World War II campaign that Australia saw a lot of service in. If you're not familiar with it, it was Papua New Guinea, a long track through essentially the jungle and mountains, fighting the Japanese. Very bloody campaign, not particularly good. But in 1947, these first versions were sent to Britain for trials as the MCEM-1 on the 8th of, from the 8th to the 16th of September. They were tested against the Sten Mark V, the Pratchett Mark II, and the British MCM3, as well as the BSA machine carbine, and it had a lot of issues. So to begin with, it overheated very, very quickly, and it also had a lot of issues with the trigger housing welds. They were prone to fracture. So it was rejected and it was sent back to Australia for further work. Major Hall gave up on the project right there, and he stayed in the UK to work on the EM rifle project, so the EM1 and EM2 bullpup rifles at Enfield. So it came back to Australia for improvement, and what we got was this, the MCEM-2. Now the MCEM is like the experimental name. It's collectively referred to as the Kokoda Gun. We don't have a magazine for this one either, unfortunately. So there were a number of improvements. The cocking handle was improved. You might not have noticed that the previous one was missing a cocking handle as well as the stock retention latch. It also came with a foregrip, a bayonet lug, and the barrel was apparently expanded to help deal with the overheating issue. So in 1951, this version here was sent to the UK for testing, and again it failed. It had extremely poor performance in the sand and mud. It was prone to stoppages, and there was even one failure to eject completely. They couldn't get the cartridge out of the firearm at all. And that was the end of this gun. After that, it was completely abandoned, and only a couple of the experimental versions still exist. There's a couple in the Small Arms Factory Museum in Lithgow, and the Lone Pine Barracks Infantry Museum have a few as well. I'm not aware of any others in other collections, but I wouldn't exclude it. Now, the MCM 2 as you can see, has the bayonet lug, and there is actually a photograph out there circulating of a bayonet fitted to this gun. But what the bayonet is, we're really not too sure. It has the outwards appearance of a number 5 bayonet, but if you have a close look at the bayonet lug here, you'll see it's a flat bayonet lug, whether the number 5 had a circular round one, so it won't fit. So I've played around with a couple of different bayonets, like the experimental number 6. This number 6 doesn't fit because the handle is too long. However, the muzzle ring is about the right size. It doesn't appear to be a SLEM or number 8 either, so it could be a one-off bayonet made specifically for this firearm, or something that I'm not aware of. If you've got any ideas, guys, please feel free to comment below, and hopefully we can figure it out. At a later date, I might contact the Lithgow Small Arms Factory Museum and maybe they'll know. Anyway, we'll jump into the construction and operation of this firearm here. Maybe I'll pull the Mark 1 out. So if you're familiar with the Owen gun, it has a firewall system that stops debris falling into the action and causing stoppages. Since we have our cocking handle and slot for it in the front, that firewall's probably been deleted. So I imagine the main similarity between this and an Owen gun is just the bolt. It's supposed to be a copy of an Owen gun, just upside down, but realistically I don't know how much there is to copy. So it's just a blowback firearm in 9mm. We've got a safety catch here set to fire at the moment, and then push it through for safe. I believe this is the mag release, but I don't know. I've heard they have a lot of issues with removing magazines, and this button is absolutely solid. It doesn't move at all. We also have a retractable wire stock, but the retention catch is gone, so I can't show you that locking in place. We have 2 sling swivels, one at the rear and one at the front, that rotates freely around the barrel. It looks like the barrel is just threaded onto the receiver here, so I imagine if you put enough force you could just unthread it, but I'm not going to do that. This is a museum piece, and I don't want to damage anything they have. Other than that, I've just got a really blocky trigger, which is reasonably atrocious, and no front sight, and we've got a flip up aperture sight with 2 size apertures, I assume for day and night. That's the Mark 1. Looking at the MCEM MK2, the main differences are the addition of the foregrip. We've got a nice front sight. One thing I forgot to mention before is we have a nice big flash suppressor, similar to the number 6. I think it's a different size to the number 5, so I'm going to say it's the same as the number 6. We've got our cocking handle here. Other than that, the controls and features are the same, and the only marking on this is on the left hand receiver there. We've got XP2 for, I assume, experimental prototype number 2. That's really all I've got to say about this firearm here. I'm going to endeavour to research the bayonet more. Hopefully we can track down what model it is. It has the appearance of a number 5, obviously it has a different bayonet lug, and the press button is really, really long, similar to the number 8, so who knows what that could be. Anyway guys, if I've made any mistakes, please feel free to comment below and correct me, and thanks for watching.